Hey everyone, MTash here, and today I wanted to talk about Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl. They're going to be nerfed in the next update, and while we don't know all of the exact changes and how it's going to feel, essentially what they're doing is turning it from a 180 RPM to a 150, something like Midnight Coup. Now the frame of it, there's like precision frame and aggressive frame or whatever. It appears to be staying the same, and we think that the recoil pattern will be the same, but it'll just shoot slower. Now, this is pretty cool because it's one of the best hand cannons on console because it feels so good, and it might actually allow it to still be used and feel good, but on console, hand cannons, in most cases, aren't amazing. There's a lot of pulse rifles being used, and I'm not going to claim I know the exact meta because I don't ever play console anymore. But on PC, while the weapon is amazing, there are a couple other weapons that are just as good, if not better, in more situations. Up close and personal, and even into mid-range, Last Word is probably a better weapon. And I'm surprised not more people are complaining about Last Word. At a long to mid-range, Ace of Spades is probably a better weapon, and you see a lot of the top guys use Ace of Spades because it's a little bit slower to fire, it's got more range on it, and it is a great weapon, especially when you get Memento Mori, or whatever it's called, procced on it. You can like two-tap people, which I'll show you later in the video. And so I question, is Not Forgotten that much better than every other weapon that it needs a nerf? And if you do nerf it, won't people just start crying about Ace of Spades? And Last Word? And other weapons? I know that there's a big thing in the Destiny community of just buff stuff. Just buff everything. And sometimes that doesn't work because you end up getting power creep. And maybe they tuned Not Forgotten to be too strong. I'm not going to deny this thing is stupidly good when you land all your shots. The time to kill is unbelievably powerful, right? Like, just look at these taps. You just tap, tap, tap. You just murder people so quickly. I can murder people in fractions of a second, sometimes before they can even shoot back, right? It's like, it's crazy. But on PC, there are weapons that are just as good. And I worry that this is a console nerf because it's that much better on console, and now this gun is going to be, less powerful on PC. And the other thing is this takes a long effing time to get. One of the longest in the game. And so now, all of a sudden, you are nerfing aspirational content, something that is interesting and exciting and something you want to chase down, and you make it worse, and then people don't touch the content as much. I'm destroying people with this weapon. I know that it's strong, but it takes like 80 to 100 hours for some people to get this weapon. And you're gonna nerf it? Who knows? Maybe it feels better as a 150. Maybe it's a secret buff. But I don't know, guys. I don't know what to think about this because there's always going to be a best weapon. There's always going to be a best weapon, and I feel like the reason this one gets so much flack is because of the effort it takes to get said best weapon. People complain dying to it, but they don't put in the effort or can't get it themselves, and so they hate it even more. But what's going to happen in a couple weeks here? Are people going to be crying about Ace of Spades saying, "Oh, that gun is broken, it's too good"? Are they going to be crying about Last Word? Because I could show you how good Ace of Spades is, and maybe it's not as good on console, but like this gun is disgusting. This gun is nutty. You could two-tap people with it, right? And like, where do you draw the line on strength? And where do you draw the line on what's okay and what's balanced? And I don't know. I just don't know if Not Forgotten is so much better than some of these other choices that it needs a 30 RPM nerf and, essentially a change to the archetype. And maybe it does. Maybe I'm off here, but I would rather use Ace of Spades in most situations than Not Forgotten. It's just easier to use. I can use Memento Mori. It never runs out of a timer. I can just run around the map and do 93 damage to the head, and like, I don't know. It seems like console and PC, at minimum, need to be balanced differently because it might be broken on console. Not Forgotten, Luna's Howl, it might be so far ahead of everything else. I get it. It needs a nerf. But it's not on PC. But at the same time, are things on console getting nerfed because of PC when they shouldn't? And then it just raises this whole other question of, like, why are these things being balanced in the same way? It's not fair to either party, I don't think. And I just question if, like, all of a sudden this gun is going to be subpar. Not Forgotten is going to be this, like, average weapon, and then no one's going to grind for it. And even me, I feel like, well, I put in all the time to get this, and now my gun sucks? Now my gun's not as valuable? I can imagine some of you, it took even longer to get the weapon. It took you 3 times as long. And now you guys are getting screwed because this weapon's getting nerfed? Is it? I don't know. I don't have all the data. Like, I don't know if it's so broken. It's just frustrating me. It's really frustrating to me when I see changes like this happen. In every game ever made, there's a meta. Street Fighter. If you look at the top characters, if you look at StarCraft, if you look at shooter games, there's a meta. There's a strongest weapon. And while I know this isn't Halo, if you compare it to Halo, the battle rifle was the best choice. You could use the assault rifle, but the battle rifle was just better. And instead of complaining, saying, oh, you need to buff the assault rifle and bring up the assault rifle, people just used the battle rifle and got really, really good with it. And I recognize that there might be a barrier to entry getting Not Forgotten, but in a game like this, with so many different guns, and idiots like me that jump off the map, there's always going to be a meta. There's always going to be a strong weapon. And so nerfing Not Forgotten is not going to change that. Now Ace of Spades and Last Word are going to be the meta. And you're going to have to complain about it or deal with it or fight people constantly using Ace of Spades, and it's going to feel the same. People using pulse rifles and auto rifles are still going to die to Ace of Spades. Maybe on console, again, metas are different. Maybe on console it won't be as prevalent, but I'm going to use PC for example. If you're running into lobbies choosing to use auto rifles and you get dumpstered on by Not Forgotten, that same player is now going to dumpster on you with Ace of Spades. And then you can nerf that and he will use Last Word and he will still destroy you. And then he'll nerf that and then he'll pick up an auto rifle and probably destroy you too. And I feel like a lot of it doesn't necessarily come down to the weapon. It comes down to people choosing to use terrible weapons as well. People use auto rifles that are statistically worse in many, many situations, and then they complain about the stronger weapon, and it gets nerfed. But they're not willing to pick up that good weapon and use it. And with a game with 50, 60, 70 guns, I recognize that you want to use different things, but this problem of meta will never go away. There will always be a strongest weapon, and players that want to win games will use it. And so you can either use the good weapons, or you can complain about them. And you could say, well, why don't you just buff everything else and bring it up to the level of Ace of Spades or Not Forgotten? And yes, in a perfect bubblegum princess world where they do that, and we get updates that aren't 4 or 5 months apart, like we do with Destiny, maybe that would work. But there are so many guns in this game and so many ways to balance them, and the chances that everything is on the same level is probably 0. So I question if this problem would ever even have a possibility of being fixed, and the answer is most likely no. So you can either adapt and suck it up and use the best weapons in the game, or you can constantly complain about people using hand cannons or that god tier pulse rifle and just keep using shitty weapons. I know that I'm speaking to a specific audience when I say that, and I know I'm ruffling some feathers and people are going to dislike this, but too bad. Too bad. There's going to be better weapons than your little misfit auto rifle. So use them if you want to win, and if you want to use your little auto rifle and you know, play around with that, then expect to get dumpstered on by the best weapon in the game, whatever it ends up being. We keep complaining about these guns, but there's always going to be a good gun. There's always going to be a better gun. And I feel like the people that are complaining are the people that are, like, PvE warriors that aren't even invested in PvP anyways. They go play that one match of Iron Banner and they're like, oh, this weapon's too strong. And then the gun gets nerfed. Well, I don't know. I could go on a whole rant about this. I feel like I already am. It's just frustrating. It's like, where do you draw the line? Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.